Good morning and welcome. On behalf of Beaconhouse School System, the School Evaluation Unit, and the GLOCAL Evaluation Week 2026, I thank you all for joining us for this panel discussion. The changing landscape of evaluation in the age of AI, perspectives on evidence, trust, and decision making. I'm Javeria Khan, Manager School Evaluation, Beaconhouse School System. My work focuses on school evaluation, quality assurance, and school improvement. It is a pleasure to moderate today's discussion and engage with such an esteemed panel of experts. Our first panelist is Ms. Nusrat Baki, Director, New Initiatives at Punjab Education Foundation. Ms. Nusrat brings extensive experience in education policy, program implementation, and public sector reform. Throughout her career, she had led initiatives focusing on improving education quality, accountability, and innovation at large scale. Her work at the intersection of policy, data, and educational improvement offers valuable insights into how evidence can drive meaningful and sustainable change. We are delighted to have her with us today. Our second panelist joining us today is Mr. Ali Ahmed Khan, Chief Operating Officer, Beaconhouse School System. Mr. Ali Khan played a key leadership role in driving operational excellence, strategic planning, and educational effectiveness within one of the largest school network in the region. With extensive experience in educational leadership, organizational management, he brings practical perspectives on how institutions can navigate change, build trust, and leverage innovation while remaining focused on their core educational mission. Thank you, sir. Our third panelist, Mr. Mansoor Sultan, Director, Information Technology at Beaconhouse Group. Mr. Mansoor has been at the forefront of leading technological innovation and digital transformation across the system. His expertise span information systems, technological governance, cybersecurity, and emerging technologies, including the artificial intelligence. As educational institutions increasingly explore AI-enabled solutions, his insights into responsible adoption, risk management, and technological innovation will be particularly valuable for today's session. Without further ado, let's begin. For all three of the panelists. AI is transforming the educational landscape at an unprecedented pace. In your view, what is the most meaningful change it is bringing to evaluation? Anyone can take the lead.
Yes. Okay. So I think I'll take the lead. So I feel that one of the biggest change which AI can do for evaluation is the ability to support evaluation. Instead of making it like a post-mortem activity, it could be an ongoing support process. And something which for schools like us is quite important because we have a very large scale. And in that large scales, it is always impossible to support the schools throughout the process. So our evaluation teams take anything from 3 to 5 years to typically go back to a school. That's a challenge which exists with all evaluation teams. But using AI, we could make that process it's not just the time would be shorter. I think it just the whole model switches into we are here to support you, and we can do that more effectively if we do it in much quicker at a much quicker pace. And the information sharing is another thing which can happen in this. Instead of the schools feeling that someone is just looking at all their documents and AI will be able to find faults, there is a possibility to share that information with schools as well and build confidence with the schools. So these are the couple of things which I feel AI can help with as a quick wins with the technology, with evaluation, sorry.
Thank you, sir. That's very interesting. Over to Mr. Mansoor.
So I think, I think what is important is from an evaluation perspective, as Khan Saab said, our teams take some time to get back to the campus. What we could do is better is perhaps we have scorecards that are being populated more often at a higher frequency. What that does is it just allows us to capture data and then also use a certain level of interpretation, which gives us, say, hotspots across the country, and it highlights campuses where we need to pay more attention. It's a bit like a audit, but it's not really an audit. When you do an audit, and if you've had some reports which have not been favorable in the past, automatically there are certain questions that get asked repeatedly. So those kind of things can be done in an evaluation as well, because evaluation obviously is not as abrasive as an audit is. But it is there to help support the branch to improve their work.
Over to Ms. Nusrat. Ms. Nusrat, what would you like to say?
I think that the points raised by Mr. Mansoor and Ali Khan are perfectly well. I totally agree with them. No comments on this question from my side.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. My first question is again to you, Ms. Nusrat. Public sector reforms are increasingly relying on dashboards, metrics, and predictive analytics. How do we ensure that the realities of students, teachers, school heads, and communities do not become invisible behind this data?
Okay, interesting question. So if I talk about it, the risk in there is that a clean dashboard becomes a substitute for understanding. Just give me a moment. There's a call coming in. I need to disconnect that. I'm so sorry. The work. So can you hear me?
Yeah. And you.
Yes,
Okay.
Ms. Nusrat.
So what I was saying was that it has become a substitute for understanding rather than a route to it. In our context, Pakistan, it still roughly has 25.1 million children aged 5 to 16 which are out of school. And this is the report from GESTR, that is Girls Education Statistic and Trends Report, and the world's second highest number after Nigeria. In here, around 78% of our 10 years old cannot read and understand a simple text. So enrollment figures show a completely different kind of a scenario, right? And they mask the actual thing. So my working principle, if you talk about it, is that data should tell us where to look, never to settle what we are seeing in it. That means that pairing administrative numbers with ground level evidence, and ground level evidence is the basic core thing. The kind of households we have, the child by child assessment that surveys like ACER produce across the hundreds of districts in Pakistan, and treating community and teachers' voice as evidence in its own right. So it should not be actually camouflaging the actual data. We should be looking at the realities on ground. The most important reality in education sector, if you talk to me about, is that there's trust, motivation, why the girls are leaving the school. These are some very important questions, and they rarely fit into these matrices. Keeping them visible in a deliberate design choice is how we structure reforms, not something that happens automatically when we digitize the things.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nusrat. You have touched on very powerful topics, and it's really interesting to say that we need to understand data can guide us what's happening, but we need to understand why it's happening. That's very accurate. So my next question is to you, Mr. Ali Khan. I would like to bring you into this conversation because you are leading a huge organization, and leaders are often the people who are interpreting the data and acting to make decisions. So as AI is becoming capable of generating recommendations, predictions, so what aspect do you think of the education leadership should never be delegated to algorithm?
All of it. Leadership is not something which AI should do at all. To begin with, I feel that AI has no accountability. We have seen memes where people are asking, "Is this mushroom poisonous?" And the meme where they die and the AI saying, "I'm sorry, I was wrong." So AI has absolutely no accountability. Even when they become this, much better AGI comes in and whatever next level of improvements come in, there'll never be any accountability for AI. You can't really ask it to that, why did you do something, and this was. So it's the humans which do that. And I feel leadership is a inherently human trait. It means connecting with the people in your area of influence, and then working with them in a particular direction. So all of leadership, yes. When you say what task or what kind of things the leaders have to deal with, yes, there are many things where I feel AI can help out, and that can help out at every level. So anything mundane, anything routine, that kind of number crunching, those kind of things can be done by AI. It can pull data through multiple systems, and show you a picture, dashboards, which Ms. Nusrat just talked about. But the problem there is that that's where it should trend. But you should let AI give you recommendation. Just don't, I mean, because that sometimes it is good to see if what you are thinking someone else is thinking or not. It's a good sounding board, but one should never ever take that recommendation and not challenge it just because it came from AI. Because the element of intelligence, I mean, when we understand, and Mansoor Saab can explain that better, the AI has very little intelligence. It's a very complex model which predicts what to say next. That's about it. So I feel for leaders, none of the leadership should be done through AI. Yes, take inputs. Just like you would take input from your team members. Think of AI as another one of your team members who's giving you input. But that's about it. You have to make your own decisions. You have to lead your people. You have to feel the pulse. What Mr. Nusrat very importantly said, it doesn't really tell you what's happening. No matter how much data you put, the humans have this ability to feel, which AI doesn't. So that is what helps us be human and be able to figure out some very complex problems, which AI can't.
So you've rightly put, I think the most important part of all this that you and Mr. Sir have said is that the fundamentally thing that is the most important thing is that empathy. So AI can do a lot of things, but the most important thing in a leader is empathy, and AI cannot do that. So I think you're very right. And this brings us to the technology perspectives. So Mr. Mansoor, over to you.
So please go ahead.
Yes. No, sir, yes.
So I just wanted to add a bit more to what both my esteemed colleagues have said. I think if there was a very big example of how AI can actually bring in some bias, and therefore, the human in the loop piece is so important to be kept in mind. So in 2018, I believe, Amazon had introduced a new tracking system for hiring. And what happened was that all the programmers for that system were all male. And even, inadvertently, their unconscious bias stepped into the programming of how the filters were set up. And it turned out that it started to reject all female CVs to a very large extent. And it ended up that about 6 months into the program, they just dumped the whole thing, and they had spent millions of dollars on it. So it's that kind of thing which I think is very, very important that so again, sorry, an anecdotal example that going back to about 30 years ago, Excel started something called pivot table, right? We all are very familiar with it. We have used it very often. And it's primarily at a fundamental level, it's not really changed. There's a bunch of data, structured data that it is able to, represent in a different way. That right there displays the biggest risk. Bad data means bad results. And it has just progressed over time. It's become, big data, data lakes, and machine learning, and AI just came into. AI actually became more mainstream when these chats, came about. So it's now become natural language. You're able to have a conversation with it, etc., etc. So it's these kind of things which clearly tell us that from an empathy perspective, from a decision-making perspective, you should never ever allow AI to actually step into a leadership role.
Thank you, sir. So it's safe to say that there won't be any evaluators as robots in at least for the next 100 years. So again, I have another question for you. So many people assume that AI is objective simply because it is data driven. Is it that assumption itself one of the greatest risks to the organizational phase?
Absolutely. I think this really dovetails into what I was talking about with respect to the previous one. It's all to do with the data that you're training it on. It's all to do with how the perception of the people who are programming that model. And Khansab also talked about AI can only predict based on historical data, right? And it just preempts what your next question could be or what your next thought could be, and it tries to answer that based on the information that it has. You feed it bad information, it's going to feed you bad results. So I think it is one of the greatest risks. And what we are seeing now is a bit of a shift. So the pendulum always swings to the extreme, right? Before it comes to rest in somewhere in the middle. So there has been a push towards adoption of AI like crazy. And what we're seeing is now people are realizing that perhaps they're not getting the results that they expected or they anticipated. And now there's a bit of a swing back towards humans. And I think that is how things will continue.
Thank you, sir. I think it's fascinating because there's this perception of objectivity, which is actually leading to false sense of confidence. People are using data throughout their decisions, leaders, workers, teachers. But I think it is very important to know that the human element should remain fundamental in any decision that you make. My next question is to Ms. Nusrat. If a sophisticated AI system and an experienced field evaluator have different conclusions, whose judgment should carry the greater weight, and under what circumstances?
Javeria, is it me?
Yes. I think there is a problem with your connectivity.
Yes, the
It's lagging
connectivity issue.
behind.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry for that. Okay.
no problem.
So it's a very interesting question, and I think that disagreement itself is the most useful finding out of this question, right? So it usually points out to a gap in the data, okay? A hidden assumption or a piece of context the model could not see at all. So the question is not who to trust, but which evidence is more credible for the decision at hand. That is what we need to look at. AI is not who to trust, but which evidence, which I'm talking about, that the credibility needs to be seen. AI is genuinely powerful, and we all know that, right? Where the patterns are large and stable. But the evidence-based, which is an extremely important element. Studies have systems show significant bias there. And we have talked about that there are biases, like Ali Saab has said it, and Mansoor Saab has also talked about it, right? So now failures are traced back to these kind of biases which are available there. I would say that with systems which are trained on incomplete data, tending to underperform precisely for underrepresented, low resource populations, right? Which describes many of the communities our work exists to serve. That is the problem. So far, so for a broad, I think, pattern heavy question, I would lean on the model. For a high stakes, context dependent question affecting a specific child, teacher, or a family, I would lean on the experienced practitioner. जहां पर डेटा अवेलेबल है, स्ट्रॉन्ग है, वहां पर हम रिलाई कर सकते हैं. बट व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग about the humans, we are talking about the effect on a specific child, we are talking about the teacher, we are talking about some family, we need to lean on an experienced practitioner. So the deciding factor is the strength and transparency of the evidence, not its source. And the accountability for the final call needs to stay with a human or a person.
That's very rightly put, Ms. Nusrat. You're very right, and you've touched on a very important point that are the biases. That yes, people think again, like we have already talked about it, that people think that AI is very objective, but of course AI is also biased, and it's again whatever data that you're feeding it, and it's giving you the answers according to your data. So what data to trust, what data to believe, what data to take forward for decision making, that totally relies on human. Moving on to Mr. Ali Khan, sir, let's explore this from a different angle. Trust takes years to build and moments to lose. How can organizations maintain stakeholders' trust when important decisions are increasingly influenced by AI-generated insights?
So trust is something, again, we just talked about leadership. I think it's an inherent quality of leadership. So we, in a very large system like ours in Beaconhouse, we have this challenge of when we need to introduce something new, something different. Now, the model is very simple. We work with people who are knowledge workers, and while they use their hands, but they also use their hearts and minds. And to get hearts and minds, you need to convince people. It's like, it's not as simple as because it's coming as an order, just do that. People end up doing it, but they don't do it well, or it couldn't be as good as it could have been. So the best way around that is to convince people that what we are suggesting and is actually a good idea or a good idea for them. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we are the most smartest people just because we have AI behind us. It means having a discussion. So one of the things which we do for normal work is that we always have a consultative process which explains that what we are trying to do is these are the reasons. And at times during that consultative process, we also modify our approach or whatever, the objective remains the same, but the process and the approach sometimes gets modified. It should be exactly the same with AI. If we are trying to use AI to do some kind of, I'm not going to use decision making, but informed decision making, we should explain to people what kind of data is going into it, how it is evaluating that data, and how the output is being utilized for those things. Now, before AI, we had been using a lot of dashboards with lots of data. And so the same process was done for that. And as I said, it should be no different because we feel that AI knows everything. Yes, the output has become better because it can recognize patterns better than I could teach it to recognize, which was workflow models. But in this particular thing, it's to win confidence, whether it is students in our case or parents or our colleagues, the teachers. We really need to explain why we are doing it, how we are doing it, and based on that, move forward. So that's, I think, how you maintain trust. Building, yeah, of course, over time we'll continue to build it, but maintaining it is very important. You're right, it's very quickly lost. So more consultation, clarity, transparency, that's what I would say.
Thank you, sir. So you've made a very valid point that about the passion. So I think it's really safe to say that Beaconhouse is one of the most passionate organizations. So yes, we do rely on data, but there is a lot of passion behind every decision that we take. And you're right that people may not necessarily oppose technology. They are open to technology and change, but they do want transparency and accountability. And it's really interesting that yes, when you talk to people, when you explain your decisions, when you take them on board, they become very okay with whatever decision that the organization is taking. Moving on to Mr. Mansoor. Sir, when AI systems make recommendations that influence high stake decisions, and what do you think that how transparent should those decisions be? And what's a level of accountability and explainability should the organization demand from the decision makers?
That's a loaded question. So I think, yeah, again, I think we really need to ensure that our training data is correct and it's properly done. I remember there was a Stanford study a few months ago where it said that, they were talking about students who were, they were evaluating student submissions, student papers using AI. So, which I think a lot of institutions, educational institutions, have started doing around the world. So, what they were able to see was, as a pattern after a while, was that non-native English speakers were getting flagged for plagiarism. Now, the reason for that was because the training had been done on a set of true, mother tongue English speakers. Now, the non-native English speakers have a different style of speaking because they've been trained usually on the Queen's English, right? Which is a bit more proper as compared to the English that is spoken especially in the US. And so the AI actually picked up that as a bit too perfect for their liking. And so they flagged it as plagiarism. And there was, I think, somewhere in the 60% numbers that were getting flagged for plagiarism till they figured out that there was something wrong. So that's, again, as a finding of that, they had to come out with a public declaration that this was a problem. And I think that's the level of transparency that is required. And I think that actually puts the onus on us, not just in technology, but also on the business side of the people who are requesting this technology, that we must have very thorough testing parameters in place which ensure that these kind of things don't happen.
The very interesting study that you have shared with us. You rightly put that transparency, trust, and accountability are clearly interconnected. And they're very important themes that we must need to inform the stakeholders, and particularly when the decisions have significant consequences for people and for institutions at a broader scale. Coming back to you, Ms. Nusrat, as you're working with the public sector and the Punjab government has increasingly focused on digital transformation and data-driven reforms, how do you see AI influencing the future of public sector in evaluation, in policy decision-making over the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay, so I'm quite optimistic about it because I'm sitting right there and handling a lot of these things. But then there are certain conditions which apply, right? So opportunity is real, it is immediate, and that is a very interesting thing. And already Punjab is committed to data-driven reforms, and there's a lot of investment going on in there. But at the scale emerges, if you're talking about them, can help the government a lot. The problem, make a certain thing and think it later. कि अब क्या होगा, so that is area where it's helping a lot, and making policy informed decisions by evidence rather than assumptions. So, but three conditions decide whether it will strengthen the public sector decisions or distort them, right? First, the data quality and governance. That is very, very important. And I think that the other two speakers have talked about it a lot also. A system is only as fair and reliable as the data beneath it. So what kind of data we are feeding it, what are we looking at, counts a lot. And ours is unfortunately kind of uneven. So we need to look at it, number one. Number two, equity. It's again a very important factor, because the people most likely, misread, they can be misread by an algorithm, and often the ones, reform is meant to reach. So third thing is the capacity, which is the most important factor. The value of these tools actually depend on whether our policymakers, officers, implementers, leaders, can they ask questions, or they can simply defer to them or refer back कि जी ये answer आ गया and this is what it is. So what is our capacity and capability of asking the questions on the results which we are getting? So capacity building in this area is a very, very important side. So used well, technology should widen the range of questions we can ask of our system, but the judgment about what matters for Punjab children, again, I would say, stays human.
Thank you, Ms. Nusrat. You're very right that, and it is certainly something to look forward to. And this brings us back to Mr. Mansoor's answer that training data is also very important. So training data, reliability, capacity building, I think this all leads to the decision that we are taking for the next 5 to 10 years. Also, it is very important to know that despite all the AI technology advancement, I think connectivity to this day still remains a challenge. We're suffering through it. So your perspective highlight that the future is not only about opportunities that the AI presents, but also about responsibilities. And I think it comes, a lot of responsibility comes with technological advancement. This brings me to the public sector. So my next question is to you, Mr. Ali Khan. So how do leaders avoid becoming overly dependent on data, dashboards, while still benefiting from efficiencies that the AI is offering?
So as I said earlier, that AI is just another one of your team members. Now, to assume because they have the word intelligence in their name that they are intelligent is wrong. Because, well, they're getting there, but there's a lot of work which is in the progress. So it is important for leaders to look at everything AI is giving, just like an input coming from that team member. However, that team member has a huge capacity to take a lot of, for lack of a better word, donkey's work when you put it in that kind of volume, and maybe not in small amounts. So, for example, for us, across 200 schools, there is a huge amount of data. If humans were to process that data and try to find trends, it'll take an enormous amount of time. So you have a team member who can process data really well and come up with, so give them that work. And offload that from the rest of your team and let them process that data and bring up the dashboards. Now, that's where you put them to use really well. But at the same time, what Ms. Nusrat was also saying, that the dashboards are never showing the full picture. You have to go and talk to people. You have to go to a school, walk the corridors, talk to students. And that's the pulse, which is the human input which we are getting, that gives us the right picture. I look at it from the point of view of that, I'm sure we played that game where somebody's trying to move a finger on your back and you're trying to draw that picture. So that's how useful AI is. It's drawing that picture on your back. It's impossible to translate on the canvas. And what would help for us is to actually, spend more time with people who are involved with these things, whether they are teachers in our schools, students. Students have a lot to contribute. They are not just grade book numbers. It's important for us to be able to talk to them and see how they feel, how the learning is going. That kind of feedback for evaluators is very useful. Not just evaluators, everyone, the school head, the teachers, myself in operations, the whole team. So use your AI team member to do a lot of number crunching, take their input, share it with the rest of the team, but go out, meet people, touch the grass, as they say, and get the right feeling before making any decision.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you really given a very interesting title to AI as a team member. So the next time we're going on an evaluation, we're going to request that, there is another team member with us, which is not there, not visible in the school, but it's there, helping the school, helping the evaluators. And one of the point that is again resonating throughout all the discussion is about the fact that AI is as smart and efficient as you want it to be. It is only generating the data that you are putting it. It cannot make decisions for you. And all three of you, throughout all this, the conversation that we're having is resonating the same point. And it's really interesting that even though the technology is so far advanced, we're still on the same page where AI is concerned. This brings me to my next question, Mr. Mansoor. It's for you. What are the most important guardrails? Because we're talking about trust, we're talking about accountability. So there should be some important guardrails that the institution should have or they should establish before integrating AI into evaluation, decision making, and all the processes that we're following.
So, okay, again, a very important and critical question, right? Because guardrails, basically, AI and ethics is a huge, huge subject right now. The reason for that is because people are starting to see that AI is being used to do wrong things as well. Just like any other technological tool, where things can be used for good as well as for bad. And that is where we're starting to see that things are being used for bad as well. So governance, I think, is a huge challenge. It's a global challenge right now. A lot of European countries are starting to, so the EU in themselves are really putting a lot of focus on what kind of governance we need in place. What can we use, or what can countries use AI for, and what they should not use it for. And you may have seen, in warfare as well, AI is starting to be used, and there's a lot of pushback on that piece as well. So within the context of education, I think the same thing happens, right? Because first of all, what we need to remember is that there is a bias. When we keep that filter in mind, we will automatically question anything that AI gives us. We need to do a sanity check. We need to ensure that, is it even making sense to me? I mean, is 2 plus 2 actually 5 or actually 4, right? Because, and I have personally observed AI when I've used AI to create presentations using Excel and Word as sources and stuff like that. It's made mistakes just transcribing from a simple table of 10 lines into a PowerPoint slide, and it has totaled up the numbers wrong. And when you question it, and it's like, oh, good catch. It was like, what the heck, man? Why am I using you for? Right? So I think that is very important, that we need to have those guardrails. So governance first. So what we're doing at Beacon House is we're in the middle of rebuilding our ERP system from scratch, and we're ensuring that data cleansing, data transparency, and AI is actually built into the little roots of the system, so that when we do produce the end result, it has already gone through several layers of checking and rechecking and validation from multiple number of people and multiple AI engines, to be honest. Because that is, I think, the only thing that we can do. And finally, I think AI, we deal with students, right? We deal with students' data and the data for their parents as well. So we need to be super careful that we are not exposing anything that uses personally identifiable information, as it's called PII, so that there can be no tracking of any sort. There can be no correlation from students to their parents to the outside world. So I think that is foremost on our list.
Thank you, sir. That's very interesting insight that you have shared, and you've used the word sanity check. So I think that's very important that when such an huge organization, not only Beacon House, other organizations as well, that when you're talking about decision making that is going to impact a lot of people. So in the governance, the safeguards, sanity check, it is very important. And my apologies for bringing all the loaded questions to you, because you are from technology and AI is very important. So we are taking you as the AI expert.
Actually, Khan
So
Saab is a much better expert at this than I am, but
yeah, we,
but
we all
yeah,
know
together.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this brings us to more questions. So we have had some really great discussion, thought-provoking insights from policy through Ms. Nusrat, leadership from Ali Khan Saab, and then technology from you. While each of you has approached today's discussion from different layers, several common themes have emerged around trust, accountability, and my personal favorite is the role of human in decision making. So I would like to open the discussion to all three of you. And the next couple of questions are particularly close to my heart, and I have a feeling that many members of our audience may share the same curiosity and interest. So I would like to open this discussion and these questions to all three, whoever would like to go first. Are we at risk of creating a generation of leaders who know how to read dashboard, but not how to read people?
Good one. I think, yeah. So the reliance right now on AI and what it is producing, I think there is a fear in my mind as well, in my heart, that is exactly what we're going to do. Because people, we heard a really interesting phrase yesterday, cognitive offloading. That was the one, Khansa, right? Because I think uh, we are seeing a lot of people starting to do that. So they are literally, absolutely, they've stopped thinking with their own brains, and they've started to rely on AI to do the thinking for them. And I think that is where, yeah, there is judgment is starting to become a real question mark. And everything needs to be summarized, and they just, as you said, read the dashboard and not get into the nitty-gritty of things, because not everything can be put into quantitative, scoring. There is qualitative as well. And where that qualitative feature comes in, that is when we'll start to fail if we are only looking at dashboards.
Over to Ali Khan Saab.
So, I mean, we have a young generation which is coming up, and there are a lot of technology related issues which the world has identified about them. I just feel their time is different, and not all of our understanding is going to be relevant to their time. Having said that, that is definitely true. We do talk about isolation increasing in young people. There's a lot of, the social media is making us more, difficult to interact with people because of this fakeness which the social media carries. Now, so add AI to that, and you have someone which people start talking to and start building a relationship with and start thinking of them, of it as their friend. And then they will become increasingly dependent on it for lots of things. As long as it's not about their, I mean, we have seen cases where AI has been disastrous in advising people on their personal relationships and matters. We have recently seen research where, because AI is trained on Western data, it is unable to recommend any psychological help which doesn't conform to those things. So, for example, in societies like ours, where family is very important, and we've always had these we've lived in these family groups, and still do. AI to always recommend cut off from people who are not good to you is not necessarily the solution. It doesn't work for our system if everybody acted that way, because we have a lot of interconnectedness as compared to some other societies. Now, take that into the workplace and into the leadership. So, if people are trained to that way, that they're looking at AI as they can trust it with their personal things, they would definitely do that with their professional decisions. And that could be a dangerous thing. So, what I feel what we can do is, through our curriculums, through our teachers in the schools, and we talk about next generation of leaders. For us, there's a lot of other things happening. So my colleagues are covering that well. So for us, it's important to kind of tell them that this technology has these limitations. It might talk to you like a friend, but it has these limitations. So it's important for us to give them that limitations. And at the same time, um, nothing works better than demonstrating it, the value of human connections. I always say that in a school, the pastoral care element of what the teachers provide, it's not quantifiable. Yet, all of us have been through schools, and we can name one or more teachers. If they had not supported us at that particular time in our life, we would have had a completely different trajectory. And I'm not talking about job trajectory. I'm saying the way we acted, the way we take decisions in our life. So these teachers are amazing people doing something which, honestly, what I tell kids is that you have these people who love you and are really want something better, for you to become something better, and nobody in the world is going to do that for you once you go into the professional life. So they demonstrate it, and we can continue to increase the value of that. We demonstrate the value of that to students and say that talk to this person as opposed to talking to AI. And that builds leaders who don't have over reliance. That builds adults who don't have over reliance on technology or AI. And once these adults go into workplaces and they become leaders, they act the same way. So that's my long-term solution to this problem, because I feel that this problem is only going to become bigger. So we need to take a long-term approach to it as opposed to something short-term.
Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Nusrat.
Javeria, I'm so sorry. My internet connection was very unstable. Can you repeat the question? Again. I cannot hear you.
So yeah, sorry. So my question was that, are we at risk of creating generation of leader who can easily read a dashboard, but they cannot read human beings?
Interesting. Okay, as far as I look at this generation, they're very smart. They're very smart kids, right? So they are going to be the future leaders. They are more sharper than us. They know how to use technology intelligently. My opinion on that, because I think that Ali Saab and Mansoor Saab do not agree with this, but I think that we are not going to create those leaders. If this generation is going to become a leader, they know that what to use, at what time to use, and how to tackle it. They are connected to the screens, but I think lesser than us. We are more addicted to the screens and looking at them 24/7. But this generation has now created a balance. They have human connections also, and they know the right use of technology. So, yes, आप अगर recent लीडर्स की बात करें जो कि अभी बहुत जल्दी फॉर्म होने वाले हैं, तो उनमें आई वुड से कि जी द लीडर्स आर गोइंग टू बी द वंस जो कि टेक्नोलॉजी पे बहुत रिलायंट होंगे. बट इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द लीडर्स अब से 10 साल बाद या 8 साल बाद, आई डोंट अग्री. आई थिंक यू आर गोइंग टू प्रोड्यूस अ वेरी स्मार्ट लीडर्स use AI as they are working really hard on it.
Thank you, Ms. Nusrat. That's certainly something worth thinking about for the future. But I also agree with Mansoor Saab and Ali Khan Saab. Yes, sir, please.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, for now, we are only limited to conversing with these AI tools
Yeah.
on a screen where we are, just either typing in a prompt and they're giving a response or whatever.
Yeah.
Just wait till the robots come into our lives.
Yeah.
Because that is happening, right? The experimental robots have already started. There will be robots who will be coming into your homes and helping you with the laundry and helping you in the kitchen and helping you in all kinds of things. But there are many,
We
many
already
movies
have
out
one
there.
for cleaning.
Ji, bilkul. That's the biggest one
It's
that,
very
that we
helpful.
need, right? And the second one is probably in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But we've seen so many
Yeah.
movies where actually there are robots which are lifelike, and they are starting to create real relationships with these robots, right? So imagine that social disconnect that is going to happen, because now, just like we've all observed, when you talk to your favorite LLM, it tends to agree with you a lot, right?
Yeah.
And it tends to, so what you ask and how you ask, it responds to you in a very positive manner, and it just keeps on building up your whatever thought process you have. Now, when you start to have a social relationship with a physical thing in front of you, imagine that social disconnect that is going to start happening, because people are not going to, want to talk to anybody else, because here it is, something that is responding in a very positive manner. Whatever I say, it's responding back in the same way. It may be my best friend. It may be my, somebody who is helping me out around the house. It may be someone that just sits with me and watches TV. And whatever comments I make, it just agrees to that. So it's going to be, this is going to take a new twist, I would say, in the next 5 years. Perhaps even less than that, because the ability of these robots that are being developed right now, for example, I mean, right, we have an example of Tesla. They shut down a car plant to start to mass produce these lifelike robots, right? So it's happening right now. So you could even say that in certain developed countries, in the next 2 years, we will start to see these robots in people's houses. And yeah, so it's a very interesting one.
Thank you, sir. Just to wrap it up, because we're short of time, all three of you have touched this very important point that we need to be responsible, very responsible while using AI. One thing which all three of you again shared in different contexts is that AI is people pleaser. So whatever you're telling the AI, it's going to agree with you. So and Mr. Ali Khan rightly put that our teachers or our counselors in school or even people in our homes or around us, our relationships, they're very important for us because they actually tell us what is right and what is wrong. And they actually guide us in the right path. While if you ask AI, because a lot of people are making AI their friends, it would tell you, yes, you're right, let's go ahead, you're right. Moving on to the last question. Uh, 10 years from now, what is one of the human capability in evaluation and leadership that AI will still be unable to do? It's open to all three of you.
Empathy, of course.
It's important.
So
Yes.
that is very important. But what I was hearing was I was having a discussion with one of my friends, and she's working in this field and developing these models. So she was telling me that this is what they're working on now on in AI also. They're trying to develop these features of empathy and care and everything. So if that is there, then I think we are cashing on the human nature of validation actually. So creating robots and using AI जहाँ पे बस validation मिलती जा रही है और हम खुश हैं जो मंसूर साहब कह रहे थे अभी भी so that is what it is क्योंकि human के अंदर जो चीज which is right now is very different और जो उसकी एक innate capacity है वो empathy है वो
Right.
अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ डिफरेंट सिचुएशंस है हम हमारे एआई के मॉडल्स या हमारे रोबोट्स जब तक उनमें वो इंटेलिजेंस आप बिल्ट नहीं कर देते हैं सो दैट इज समथिंग विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एजुकेशन सेक्टर में अगर हम बात करें वी टॉकिंग अबाउट चिल्ड्रन वी टॉकिंग अबाउट ह्यूमंस राइट
Yeah.
एंड एवरीबडी हैज इमोशंस दे हैव डिफरेंट डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ सिनारियोज राइट और दूसरा ये कि एआई की एक जो चीज विच आई स्ट्रांगली बिलीव इज दैट we are strong proponents of bringing the technology and putting it in, and whatever the world is doing we want to do it and want to be at par with it, but again we forget about the contextualization. So
Yeah.
जब तक वो नहीं होगी, जब तक हम अपनी grassroots realities को नहीं देखेंगे, तब तक this will stay as a huge kind of us also, but then a huge help also. That is what take is on this.
Sir, Mr. Mansoor, sir, your thought on this question?
I think मैंने काफी कह दिया इसके बारे में. To be honest, yeah, I think I'll defer to Khan Saab to close up.
Okay.
Okay, so it's in the name, it's artificial.
Yeah.
So being human is what it won't be able to do it. So unfortunately, if you had asked me one trait, I would have said emotional intelligence, but there are a lot of humans who don't have emotional intelligence. And Ms. Nusrat will agree, there are a lot of humans who don't have empathy.
Yeah.
Right? So I think part of being human is maybe not having everything, but at the same time, having, so it's not going, if it got empathy and emotional intelligence, it'll become a superhuman actually. It'll be better than humans. It's just being original, being us. So that's something which is never going to be able to be replicated. And I feel because everything about technology is standardization, all the cars have to have the same kind of features, or they have to follow these traffic. They have to be built in a way that they work with the roads. So everything technology works is standardization. Humans have literally zero standardization, other than the fact that most of us have 2 legs and 2 arms, right? And that kind of thing. But the way we act, there is no standardization in the way we act. And I think that's what makes us human. That's so there'll be 8 billion of us, and we could have 80 billion technology pieces, but they'll never just be able to replicate 8 billion people. So I don't see that happening, but we should use this as much as we can for our benefit. But I don't see them becoming human.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you to all three of you. Today's discussion has highlighted that both the opportunities and responsibilities that come with AI. While technology is helping us generate insights faster and at greater scale, the qualities that define leadership, evaluation, our judgment, ethics, trust, empathy, accountability, and the ability to understand the context that domain actually remains deeply human. Perhaps the future is not about choosing between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. It's about learning how to combine both together and use both their strengths effectively to make better decisions and create greater impact. Thank you to our distinguished panelists for their insights, for your participants, and thank you to our audience who have been very engaged, have been very active. Thank you to your questions. I wish we had time to take questions from you, but we're running short of time. And we look forward to continuing these important discussions in the future. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
The opportunity.
you.